The speed square is one of the most valuable tools that you can own, and this year, 2025, celebrates 100 years since the introduction of the original Swanson speed square, the only true speed square. Now, while there are other manufacturers of these types of squares, those are referred to as rafter squares, and while they have many of the same features, the only true speed square is a brand name by Swanson, which is a registered trademark for their company. Now, these things are packed with practical features that are not only essential for construction workers and carpenters, but also for DIY enthusiasts as well. In this video, we're going to explore some of the handy features that make this a toolbox staple, and I'll demonstrate a couple of useful tricks that you can do with these speed squares to enhance their functionality. And we'll examine a couple of the modifications that I've made to my own personal speed squares to use outside of carpentry as a millwright. I'll show you why I did these particular modifications and how they're useful. By the time we finish this video, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of all the different features and functions that are packed within a speed square that you can utilize on the job site or on your weekend projects. Let's get started. One of the most fundamental features of a speed square is its ability to quickly reference 90 degrees and 45 degrees. The way we do this is by setting the lip of our speed square against the material that we're working with, and then we can quickly scribe out this line, which will be 90 degrees relative to the side of our material. If we flip this around, and I'm just going to run it so that it starts in the same position here, and we mark the other side of the speed square, that will give us 45 degrees relative to this side of the speed square. Now, on the speed square, you have a pivot point, and along the outer edge, you have degree graduations in increments of 1 degree, and they're called out at every 5 degrees so that you can quickly reference them. So you have a mini protractor with the speed square that goes from 0 to 90 degrees. So let's say that we want to draw out a 15-degree angle. Well, we'll first set our material or set our speed square against our material so that our pivot point is constantly touching, and then we can rotate this down until the 15-degree mark passes right by the edge of our material. Once we have that, then we can scribe this line. Now, it's important to note that this is 15 degrees relative to this reference line. So this is actually our 0, and then this one will be 15 degrees. And let me draw a couple more on here. We're going to do 30 degree, and we'll also do 60 degree. Let me line that up. Make sure that 60 passes right through the edge there. And now we have 60 degrees. So this is 15 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and finally 60 degrees. Now, these are relative to what will be our 0 point. Now, if you're referencing from the side, we have to go the opposite way. This will be 90 degrees, which is this angle, minus 60, which will give this one a degree of 30 degrees. If we go to the next one, that will be 90 minus 45, which is 45. The next one would be 90 minus 30, which is 60. The next one would be 90 minus 15, which is 75. And finally, 90 minus 0 is 90 degrees. Here I have a mock-up of a standard common rafter setup on a 6/12 pitch. So what that means is that for every 12 inches of dimension that goes this way, the rafter rises 6 inches. Now this would be our studs, this would be our top plates, this would be our ridge where it connects at the point of the roof. And within the common rafter, there are several different angles that have to be acquired in order to make them fit properly. The top one up here is called the ridge plumb cut. The bottom one is the eave plumb cut. And this cutout is called the bird's mouth, where you have the seat cut, which runs along the horizontal, and the heel cut, which runs along the vertical. And I'm going to show you how you can very quickly derive all the necessary information to lay out and make all of those cuts using the common rafter scale located on your speed square. And then we'll touch on the hip and valley scale as well. Now, to use the common scale on your speed square, you use it much in the same way you would use your degree scale, only instead of rotating out to a particular degree, we're going to rotate out to a particular pitch. And you can do that from 1 all the way up to a 30/12 pitch. In our example, we were working with a 6/12 pitch, so we'll continue with that. We'll set the lip of our square against our material, rotate out until we cross 6 on the common scale, Once we have that, then we can lay in this line, and this will be the top of our ridge. This will be our ridge plumb cut line. Now you'll have a predetermined rafter length, and for our purposes, we're just going to pick an arbitrary spot. And what we're going to lay out now is the plumb cut for the heel of our bird's mouth. So we'll rotate out again to a 6/12 pitch. Once we have that, then we can strike that line. Then you'll have a predetermined eave length. And for our purposes, we're just going to go out to the corner of our material here, and we're going to lay in our eave cut. And rotate that up to 6, and that is our eave. Now the next thing we need to do is put in the bird's mouth, or the seat cut for our bird's mouth. And we can do that one of two different ways. The first way is, first we started with our plumb cut, or plumb line this way. We'll rotate the square around. And on Swanson speed squares, they have a diamond. Now this is set at 3.5 inches. This would be for a common 2x4 studded wall. If we were using a 2x6 studded wall, we would want to go out to 5.5 inches. But in this case, we'll just do a 3.5. So the way this works is we want to line up our plumb cut line so that it crosses through both the top and the bottom of that diamond. And rotate it over. Once we have it, then we can strike our seat cut line, and this will be our bird's mouth. Now the other way you can do this, you'll notice that there's a couple of marks here on the outside. You can flip your square around, and we can align these two marks with our plumb line here, and then we can just slide it down until 45-degree point passes right through the edge of our material. So if we run this down, making sure that 45 crosses right through that point and that these lines cross through our plumb line, we can strike that, and you'll notice they are exactly the same line. So that's two different ways that you can get the seat cut for your bird's mouth with your speed square. Now there is some math behind what this particular angle is in degrees. So if we rotate out here to 6, and I'm going to use a little framing square to better highlight this. I won't go too deep into the math, but I want to show you one quick example how you can very quickly determine what this angle is in degrees. So if we set that against the edge of our square, we run right through our 6 common line, and then we rotate that down until it's right on the edge. You'll notice that we come out at right about 25.5 degrees, thereabouts. So the way that you can quickly derive what this angle is for a particular pitch is on your smartphone calculator. We'll take 6, and then we'll divide that by 12 and hit equals. Then you can hit the second button and then hit tangent to the -1, which is the arc tangent, and that will get us the true degree, which is 26.56 degrees. Now our common rafter has a 6/12 pitch. And without going too deep into the math, the hip rafter will be quite a bit longer than that, and it will actually have a 6 for its rise over a 16.97 pitch, and you can derive that through some trigonometry. The great thing is with the speed square, we don't have to do any of that math because all the angles are preset for us. So if we come up here, and I just want to show the difference between the angles here, and if we draw this, we're going to put it at a 6/12 pitch on our hip and valley scale now. And if we draw that angle, you'll notice that the angle here is quite a bit shallower than that of the plumb line or the plumb cut for your eave and your ridge cut for your common rafter. Now you can also use your speed square to draw out complementary angles. So let's say we're going to make a ceiling joist or we're going to build a truss and we need to get the complementary angle for the bottom chord. So I have my rafter here and I have my 6/12 plumb cut line here, and this angle would be our complementary angle. Well, we can very quickly derive that by setting our speed square up. We're going to go again to the 6/12 on the common. We'll mark that, and then we can rotate our square, pivot it around until we cross that mark, and then we can draw off that line. And that very quickly picks up the complementary angle for our bottom chord on our truss, or if you wanted to make a ceiling joist that extended all the way out. So we're going to lay out an example of a little short section of a base plate. And we're going to run our square up to the edge here. We're going to run our first tick mark at 1.5 inches, slide over, and then we're going to scribe that mark. And that will be our placement for our first stud. Now before we move our square, if we take our pencil and we set it against the edge of the square here, and then flip the square around in the opposite direction and run it back so that it touches right on our pencil, and then we scribe this line over here. This should be exactly 16 inches on center. So if we take a tape measure and we measure it out, you'll notice that we land exactly 16 inches. Just happens to work out for the length of the 7-inch rafter square or 7-inch speed square. Now you can also use the heel of your square in order to square up materials to get them flush with one another. And that length that we talked about earlier at a little over 7 inches is actually no accident. It's designed to go across two 2x4s so that you can lay out both top and bottom plate at the same time. And it works out that you can lay out across a single 2x8 as well. Laying out base plates is actually a little bit easier with the other version of the Swanson Speed Square. This is the Speed Square Pro. And what I like about this one, if we look here on the inside edge, it's already preset at 1.5 inches. So we don't have to come over to the 1.5 inches and put a tick mark before moving our square. We can just set it up on here on the end, flush it, and draw that line, and that is exactly 1.5 inches. Then we can move over, extend that line, set our pencil mark, flip our square around, bump it up against there, and draw it, and that should be exactly 16 inches on center, which it is. Now you can also use your speed square as a makeshift compass. So we'll drive a nail in a piece of plywood, and let's say we want to draw out a small circle. Then we'll set our pivot point of our square right there on that nail, and then we'll pick a point, whether that be in one of the scribe notches or out here or on the diamond, to the more or less the size of the circle that we want. So in our case, we're going to do a 2.5 inch radius, so that'll be a 5-inch circle overall. We just set our pencil in the notch there, and then we can just trace it around. And then you have a makeshift compass with your speed square. If you need to make a straight line along a dowel, you can do that with your speed square too. So let's say you need to make a straight line in order to drill out a bunch of holes that are in line with one another. Just set the dowel against the heel of your speed square and against the side, and then you can scribe a line down it to make a perfectly straight line. Now you can also use the speed square in order to determine angles that are greater than 90 degrees. So let's say, as an example, we're doing some cabinetry work and we're laying in the trim, and what we need to find is the total angle that we have here so that we can properly set the miter saw to the miter angle. And we're going to use a framing square with the speed square in order to help us accomplish this as accurately as possible. So we're going to take our small framing square and we're going to set it right in the corner here against this wall. Then we're going to take the speed square and we're going to set it along the other wall, and then we're just going to run it up until it barely touches our framing square, and then we'll read what we have in degrees here. So this is reading at about 55.5 degrees. So our total angle should be 90 degrees plus 55.5 degrees for a total of 145.5 degrees. So let's check and see how accurate we are. So I have a digital angle finder here, and I'll make sure that we are zeroed out, okay? And we'll just open it up and see how close we got. So when we open this up and get it set properly, we are right on the money, 145.5 degrees. And that's how you get an angle that is greater than 90 degrees with a speed square and a little help from a small framing square. You can also use your speed square to find the center of circles. So for this, we're going to need a little help from our small framing square. We're going to take our speed square, interlock it with our framing square so that this edge runs right into the corner. Then we can take the two, set them together, make sure that our little framing square sits on both sides, touches the circle in two places, and then we can scribe a line. Then we can rotate this plate about 90 degrees or thereabouts and reset it and do it one more time, and that gives us the center of the circle. Speed squares are great when you use them for their intended purposes, which is to square things up. So you can use them to square the inside of corners, use them to square outside of corners. You can use them as references for squares to square up your skill saw blade, for your bandsaw blade, or for your table saw. Any different number of things where you need a right angle, you can use the speed square in order to check to make sure that you have a true 90-degree angle. With the aid of a plumb bob, you can turn your speed square into a makeshift level. Set your square against the wall, put your plumb bob so that it rests in the pivot notch of your speed square, rotate until you reach 45 degrees, mark those lines, and you just found level. If you want to check the pitch of your roof inside of an attic, then you can hang a plumb bob off of a nail, put your speed square along the bottom side of your rafter so that the flange is perpendicular to the rafter. Slide your speed square down until the pivot point touches your string line, and then you can read the pitch of your roof. The thickness of a Swanson speed square is 3/16 of an inch thick. So we could actually turn this up, reference it off the side of our board, draw a small reference mark here on the inside, and then we could use that as a reference point for trimming outdoors for leaving a perfect 3/16 inch trim reveal. Now if you want to go a little bit more, we could set the square on its side, mark to the inside quarter, and that gives us just over 1/4 of an inch for the trim reveal. So if we set that up, it's just barely over 1/4, between 1/4 and 5/16. The first one is right on the money, 3/16. This next tip applies to welders and fabricators. If you're using your speed square as a cutting guide for a plasma cutter, what ends up happening is the corners of the heel of the speed square make contact with the insulator as it's coming through and leaves you with a jagged cut on one corner. Well, we're going to first mark off two 45-degree corners on the edges here. We're going to cut those off with a cutoff wheel, and then we're going to clean them up with a file just to get rid of all the sharp edges. And we're going to have a modified square that will allow us to now use it effectively as a plasma cutter cutting guide. This is also going to serve a dual purpose, because when you're marking the inside of different structural steels like I-beam, channel iron, or larger angle iron, there is a curve that is within those particular types of steel, and it does not allow the square to seat fully against them because of those corners. By making this modification, we're going to kill two birds with one stone, and this is a great mod for welders and fabricators. This next modification is also for welders and fabricators, and I set this one up in my bandsaw so that I could get very clean cuts on it. I started off with a 45-degree angle to cut off a corner of the square corner of the speed square. That way, when we're using it to set into the corner, when we have a weld seam, it won't contact the weld seam, and I can very accurately check to see if it's square. On the opposite side, I set this one up as a 22.5-degree cut on the bandsaw, did the same thing, and then we clean this one up with a file, and this one allows us to check the inside of 45-degree angles that also have weld on them without contacting the weld itself. These are two great modifications that you can do for welders and fabricators that carpenters probably would never ever need. You want to catch highlights of last night's game on your smartphone? Take two speed squares, interlock them together, set them down, and now you've just made yourself a quick job site phone stand. Speed squares also make great saw guides on the job site, so whether you're cutting a 90-degree angle or 45-degree angle, or if you want to incorporate some stair gauges for doing marking of repetitive plumb cuts and then using that as a saw guide to make those plumb cuts, works very well as well. A couple of other uses that I don't necessarily do with a speed square, but I've seen other trades do them. I've seen electricians use them as a little kickstand where they'll put their conduit through, then take a bandsaw to be able to make their cuts so they have a little standoff. I've also seen speed squares used as scrapers, so if you're on a muddy job site, scraping mud off of your boots. And I've also seen a lot of concrete contractors that will use their speed square to scrape dried concrete off of forms. Again, not necessarily something that I would necessarily do, but I have definitely seen it out in the world. These are just some of the uses, tricks, and modifications that I use in Swanson speed squares to get the most out of them. If you feel I've missed any, if you have one you want to add to it, just put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you guys use your speed squares to make the most out of their usability. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next one.